welcome to Inspiring Africans. I'm your host, Ray Kawani, and this is episode number 7. Today I've got with me, in short, his name is Bird, but I think I'll let him introduce himself. So if you could tell us a little bit your name and
Okay, thanks very much. My name is Ansbeth Mundineza. It's my long version. I'm Rwandese Australian, and I work as a physio pretty much.
Okay, wow. So how long have you been working as a physio?
Well, not that long because I graduated last year, so I've been working for about 5 months now, so I'm just new to the workforce.
Okay, that's very nice. So was that a degree in physio or was it something, I guess more broad, or was it just the specific degree?
Well, if I go back to my academic background, I did a year of Bachelor of Health Science at University of Tasmania, and then I transferred to University of Queensland where I did my Bachelor of Physiotherapy. It's a 4-year program, and I ended up graduating with an honours.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess, did you do that at Griffith, UQ, or?
I did that at University of Queensland.
University of Queensland. So you've now graduated and you're currently in the workforce. How do you find your feet after all these studies?
Well, I'm quite fortunate enough because with physiotherapy it's really high in terms of employment. So it's just a matter of using the skills that you gain through your 4 years of studies, but you still find it quite challenging as a new graduate because physiotherapy is a such wide profession.
Yeah.
We have people who are working as who are working for sporting teams. At the same time, you have people who are working for people in the nursing homes. So there's a quite range spectrum in the profession. So it's a matter of really be on your feet and know what you have to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I just want to ask for our young viewers and some of the viewers who don't know what physiotherapy is. I don't know.
Okay.
Could you be able to tell us what it is?
Physiotherapy is a healthcare profession that really does assess, diagnose, and do some treatments for different conditions. We focus more on what we call therapeutic exercises approach and a little bit of manual treatments as well. And we do work in different kind of healthcare settings, both private and public healthcare systems. We also do work with, as I mentioned before, with some sporting teams, some rehabilitation centers after people have major like motor vehicle accidents or major injuries. So we do help them really get back to managing their activities of daily lives.
Okay. Yeah. So let's just, hypothetically speaking, let's say you graduated and you didn't get a job. What would you have done if that was you?
All right. Well, as a physiotherapist, you are a first contact practitioner. What that means is that you really can, you have the ability to start your own practice if you have the ability. So in my case, if really I could find any way of getting employed, I know it's really hard because you need a lot of capital and you need a little bit of experience behind you to be able to be in that position. But if you don't have options, you have to create a job for yourself. So I'll probably definitely would have started something for my own that would probably see me, go through.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you say of starting something, is that like your own physiotherapy business?
Yes.
Or
there are a lot of number of options. You could start your own business. You could really try to talk to different organizations and act as a subcontractor. You could go even back home to Africa, just get yourself involved in the communities through like academical pathways, or through even working with public healthcare systems there. I think as a health profession, as a health professional, you have a number of options on the plate, especially when you have an African background, because you can either do things here. If things don't work, you have the option of trying it back home to get back to where you came from. So there are a number of options, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
So throughout your program, so you started off, I believe, in Tasmania with a health science, and then coming to physiotherapy. Did you, in the degree, did you have like work placement or any projects that kind of helped you now that you're in the profession, that it kind of helped you work in that profession?
Probably I should have elaborated a little bit more of how the physio program is. So the way the bachelor, the undergraduate physiotherapy program is at UQ is that you do a 3-year theory kind of setup. So that is like you have your classes, you have your pracs, and then at the end of the 3rd year, you kind of get into the clinical aspect. So what that means is that by the start of your 4th year, you pretty much go out and work. So they send you out to different places. Like I had mine at the Royal Brisbane Women Hospital. I had one in Logan Hospital. I had another one up North Queensland, this little town called Bowen. So you really have a very good understanding of the profession before you graduate. So you really know what you're into. So for me, it was it's pretty much graduating with really good experience and really just transition into the workforce. So I had really good understanding of what the profession was about.
That sounds really good. So now, what is the big picture? Now we're in it 5 months. We've got a little bit of experience, you know.
Yes.
What do you see in the long term?
That is a really good question, because statistics shows that most physiotherapists don't stay in the profession for long, for different reasons. Some of them change to different professions. Some of them pretty much stay in the same profession, but they are up the ladder, so they are no longer the primary practitioners. They are into management kind of roles. So where I see myself in the next number of years, probably somewhere not as a practitioner, so somewhere where I'll be pretty much owning my own business or running my own pretty much business. So what I meant by that is that after a few years of practice with really good experience, I have the ability to both financially and clinically to open my own clinic and really be a very good practitioner. At the same time, get a chance to give back to the community by employing young practitioners, by giving other Africans, like young Africans, some working experience and clinical experience. Because if you really been to a physiotherapist clinic, there are a lot of positions. You have receptionists, you have people doing different things. So it's more of like pretty much a business.
Yeah.
So you have accountants, you have even lawyers, because there are legal issues involved. So it would be really good opportunity for me to give back to my community if I get to that stage. And my other options is that I could probably even try to go back home and open up a little bit of a major cross-country physiotherapy center, because back home physiotherapy is a new profession. It's something that most people don't know, but it's very valuable in terms of helping people getting back to their performance levels after injuries or after accidents. So I think it's something that probably, as the continent grows from the financial perspective, as you know, Africa is kind of developing. So the population will be able to support those kind of services. So my plan, or my long-term plan, is probably to move there and introduce that kind of profession to the people.
Okay, so doing all this and having this great vision, I want to know what really inspired you in the first place. Like, how did physiotherapy come through?
Well, from a very young age, I always wanted to be in a position of helping people or making people feel better. And as I grew up, I found out the number of options that you can do that through. And after arriving to Australia, really I looked into different professions and different kind of options that were there, and physiotherapy came right in front, and I decided I was going to go through that pathway, and it's paying off for me, because every time I see someone, next time they come in complaining of something, you do help them in one way or another. Next time they come with a big smile on their face. For me, that is quite satisfying. That is really what I was kind of going for. It's that kind of making or putting a smile on someone's face.
Wow. I wish I was a doctor, but I guess not everybody really deals well with humans. So we'll leave that to you to make everybody feel better. But
just before you finish, I just clarify that physiotherapists are not doctors. It's more of a different profession in a way. We still deal with people from what you can call kind of from a different angle as compared to the doctors, but we're good at what we do and we make people better. So I would say it's something to be proud of.
So, for example, if let's say my ligaments came out, my knee ligament came out. So would I be seeing a physiotherapist? Is that, or would I be seeing?
So I'll just give you a really good example. So you're playing sport and you get injured, you sprain or you tear or you rupture your ligament. You can easily go straight to a physiotherapist based on how severe your injury is. So what that means is that if you really can't walk or can't do anything, the leg gets swollen, automatically the ambulance is going to take you to the hospital. And nowadays the healthcare system is set up in a way that when you go through triage, you have a nurse, you have a physio there, sometimes you have the emergency doctors in there, but you go through all of those screenings. That's one way of going through the healthcare system. The second option is that if you had an injury, it's not really bad, you can still walk, go back home, but the pain is a little bit too much. You have the option of going to a physiotherapist, and when you get there, we'll have different assessments that we do. If we feel that the injury that you had needs more attention, or it's really bad that you really can't manage it conservatively, we'll refer you to an orthopedic surgeon, for example, or we'll refer you to have an imaging, like medical imaging for whatever happened to you. If it's really severe, you need someone to open it up and fix some few things, that's when you go to an orthopedic surgeon. Otherwise, the physio will be able to give you some rehabilitation exercises until you really get better. We don't really do any surgeries or anything like that. No, we don't.
Okay. Now, I'm sure university was a struggle. What got you through it? What really motivated you to overcome it all?
It sounds like you knew me before you asked this, but I'm joking.
That's all right.
University is a struggle for most of the people, and it becomes even more a struggle when your background is not as solid as everyone else. What I mean by that is really physiotherapy course or program is quite challenging to even people who grew up in this system here. So for me, as an immigrant who just arrived in Australia, how many years ago? 2009? Wasn't that long. I got into physio in 2012. That was after about 3 years. it was quite challenging. But the thing is, the motivation is what pushes you to get what you want and your goals. If you have goals and you're determined to achieve those goals, no matter what you do, you achieve those goals. So for me, it's more of probably my background. I'm from Rwanda's background where we struggle. We live by working hard. We are taught to work hard from a very young age. So I would say commitment, motivations, and having aims and goals will push you through. So that's what pushed me to finish those painful 4 years. Yes.
They sound very painful then. So goals and having, goals and aims, that's where we're heading to. So if there was a message that you could send to somebody else in regards to, wherever they are, whichever stage they are, whether it be first year of university or a graduate who's unemployed, if there's something that you could pass on, what would that be?
Well, those are maybe two different categories you mentioned. So the first one is more of university students. There are a lot of things that causes a lot of stress when you're a university student. One is finances, because when you're at uni you can't work. Really, people, the government does support, but as a young person, you probably need a little bit of more money to live and survive and be able to enjoy life. So that becomes one of the biggest issue for young people, because they want money, they want to work, at the same time want to study. Really good thing, but at the same time I'll just advise them to have a balance of those two things and have their main objective first. So they have the big picture. Let's say the big picture is to graduate, have a degree, and start their own career. That is the big picture. They should put in at least 85% of the effort, and everything else could be sport commitments, could be work commitments, gets about 15%, because university sometimes is quite challenging to go through. So that's one. Second comment I'd say is that don't let anyone kind of pull you down. You could be struggling, but struggling is part of life. You're not gonna get through things easy. So don't get to a point where you feel like, oh man, I'm struggling too much. This, I'm gonna give up. There's no time to give up. If things are getting harder, pressing hard, you have to press hard back too. So that's another thing I would say. No surrender, no retreat, no surrender, they say. So it's always forward. And then to probably my fellow graduates who really don't get employment, I think the main objective of getting educated is not to be employed, is to be able to be a critical thinker. So if you're a critical thinker and you find out that, well, I graduated, I can't find a job, then you have to critically think to create a job for yourself. That's the next stage, because you can't repeat some things over and over if they're not being productive. There's always this principle I use. If things are not working for me, why would I still repeat those same things? Why would I keep pushing for something that will produce the same result? If I applied for one job, not getting the same job, I'm not getting the job, why can't I change and apply for another one? Why can't I change the direction? So don't try to force things that are not working. If things are not working, just change things, do something else, create your own jobs. Think of changing careers, because when you really graduate does not mean that you're gonna stuck in that kind of profession forever. People change careers all the time. People change jobs all the time. So if things are not working, you've been trying for 2-3 years, you're not getting a job, just create your own job. I know it's really hard in this country, but there are a lot of channels. You could even talk to your local government and present your case as an individual and tell them, I have these skills, I'm looking for something. You could talk to some NGOs, tell them your skills, show them your qualifications, and say, I have this project in mind, how can you support me? So really, being an accountant, graduating in accounting doesn't mean that you have to work as an accountant. You could, work something different. So the bottom line is to think outside of the square.
Wow, I really admire that. As a future graduate, as a student, to get a different perspective in terms of why you study. I think that's awesome, to be a critical thinker. It's not about employment. It's not just about working for somebody else, but it's also about what you can do for yourself. Thank you so much again for actually having this chat with me. And till next time, hey?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All good. Cool.